Yeah. In your house with O'Con. Hey, O'Con in your house. Hollywood in your house. Hypocrisy's head in the clouds. Curating all kind of loud. Wrestling in front of the crowds. Paragon's holding it down. Anybody can get it. Guys Joseph standing on his decisions. He is the voice. There is no choice. We is them boys in your house making wrestling noise. Moving fast, it's like cruiserweight action. In your house is the perfect distraction. Poppers in your ears when you in traction. Get this work with some wrestling action. Smoke.
Hey, what's up, guys? You already know what's cracking. Hollywood House, back in the spot, in your house. You already know we out here. We ready to make a movie. We ready to get with the shits. I hope y'all ready to get with the shits, because I'm ready to talk a little wrestling. That's right, we are back, and I am not alone. And usually I'm not alone. I have a great team here at In Your House, and you guys can see that we are here. We are here on our Facebook. We are here on our YouTube. We are giving y'all that work. It's been a little bit since we've hit the podcast, but we are back on the podcast, giving you guys a little bit of that Sunday work here on In Your House. So we got a lot of things moving. As you can see, I have one of my co-hosts with me, and that is the voice, Josh Joseph. What's up, bro?
How you doing, Hollywood House? Thank you for putting this together and inviting the voice to come out and talk to the fans.
Hey, man, we are glad to have you back. We got a great conversation to be had here on In Your House, and we have some news to share here on In Your House. As you can see, we are not alone. Myself and the voice are not alone here. We have a great addition here, somebody that you've seen and heard here on the In Your House podcast for many times over the last couple of years. He was actually part of our most listened to episode in 2023 on Spotify. And he is here not only to be a guest. Well, he's not here to be a guest at all. He's also here to be a co-host, a new addition here to the show that we are very excited to have. Years of experience in the professional wrestling business, in the ring, many championships held, still very young in the business himself and still growing in the business. Great mind for the business. Once again, a young man who's been on this show many times, so it feels right because anybody can get it. Paragon is now a new co-host here on In Your House. We're happy to have him. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for being a part of the team, brother.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for welcoming me. You know, I call myself the world's most dangerous game. Maybe I could start saying that I'm the world's most dangerous podcaster.
There we go. There we go. That's the goal. That is the goal. Somebody with that type of amazing wrestling mind, I'm happy to have on the team and happy to help grow in the wrestling media. And this is the role that I feel like I will be remembered for, and that's helping people grow, and that's what I want to do. So we're definitely happy to have a great young mind in wrestling like Paragon come on and not just be a guest on the show, but a part of the show, contributing to what we do, contributing to our community. So we'll be very exciting moving into the future. We talk about community, we talk about family here on this show, and if you are a member of the In Your House community, a member of the In Your House family, and you've been a member of this community for a long time, you see that there is a face here that you are familiar with that is not on this show, and that is the curator, my man, Hypocrisy Jones. And don't worry, Hype will still be on the show. He will be coming back. He's got a lot of exciting things going on. This is one of the things that I love about Hype, right? Is that he always keeps himself very busy. He's always out there fulfilling goals, fulfilling dreams, getting out there. And this is something that I personally appreciate. Not being from the Midwestern area, no knock on the Midwest, I love it here, but like not a lot of people are that type of minded where it's like, I want to do much more than just, go to work, come home, go to work, come home. This man stays busy. This cat stays busy, and right now he is working with the Kokomo Press, a show that I love being a part of, another podcast, another page that you guys should definitely follow, and they're doing a holiday special that's going to be on Facebook Live, 8 p.m. on the Kokomo Press page, Friday, December 15th. Go check that out. It's going to be very exciting. Love the work that he does. He's doing a lot of great work in comedy. Of course, is a great co-host here on the show. Has helped grow this show to what it is now, and that's somebody that I'm always happy to have on my team. Just a grinder, and that man is always out there fucking grinding. But Hypocrisy Jones will be back. He will return to the show at a future date, but right now we have a lot to discuss. A lot of exciting things have happened since the last time that I got a chance to step up to the mic. This is me dusting the mic off a little bit. Just a little dust on there. I'm dusting it off. We're getting back to business. We're standing on business. We're talking about professional wrestling. And recently, big things have happened. So let me go ahead and paint y'all a picture here. My man Voice, my man P. I'm laying on the couch. All right. I'm working, busting my ass, working these 12-hour shifts at the shoot. And I am trying to watch Survivor Series, okay? I am trying to watch WWE Survivor Series. I'm on the couch. I'm watching it with my son. And it's getting late. I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning every morning to go to my job. So by the time it gets to be 10:30, bro, I'm sleepy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sitting over here, my eyes fluttering. Like it's becoming a chore to keep my eyes open. So we're there at the main event, and I love the War Games match. And I went back and rewatched it. That's not that I thought it was boring. I was literally just tired. So I don't want anybody of the listeners thinking that, but it did become, I was getting tired. So I'm falling asleep on the couch at the end. Randy Orton doing his thing. I'm sitting over here dreaming, half asleep, I hear voices in my head. And I'm like, oh man, these voices in my head are telling me to go to sleep. But all of a sudden I hear, bro, I hopped up off that couch so fast. I mean, the way I hopped up off that couch was ridiculous. It was like a man coming back to life. CM Punk, after all the speculation that he would come back at Survivor Series, and to me, I was like, all right, here we go with this CM Punk crap again, thinking that he's gonna come back anytime a show is in Chicago. They think this man is coming back, and he doesn't come back. Let it go. He's burned all his bridges. That's where I was at. This man has burned all his bridges. He's done.
Yup.
He's done.
And then it was hell froze over. This man returns to WWE. The prodigal son returns. I'm feeling a weird mixture of anger and excitement. All right? This is a weird... You know what you were feeling?
What?
You were feeling when Hogan came back to WWE.
Oh, no. Don't call it that. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man.
I'm going to put poison into the WWE.
I couldn't believe it. This man is back in the WWE, CM Punk, and all of a sudden, my mind goes from, I cannot stand this man. He's one of the most polarizing men in wrestling. All he has to do is show up, and people are paying attention to it, and he's throwing it all away because of drama, because of stupid drama that if adults would deal with it, you can make money off of it. And a lot of it was centered around him. I'm not saying everything was his fault. I'm not saying every single thing that happened was his fault, but he played his hand in it. And he already has a bad reputation of having a bad attitude and handling things wrong in the past. And I wasn't ready to see him again. But then when I saw him again, my mind right to, oh, what is Seth Rollins thinking? This man is on the stage cussing this man. You got mommy flipping him off. Think about all the people backstage that he's pissed off, that he's talked shit about on podcast, and he just gets to come back?
What's going on here? And then all those thoughts went out the window. And then my mind goes straight to, oh man, Roman Reigns versus CM Punk? Oh man, Seth Rollins versus CM Punk? Oh man, LA Knight versus CM Punk? Oh man, what can he do? Where can he go? There's so many different things that he can do, because now he's being thrown into this pot of immaculate talent, some of the best talent that the WWE has seen in years, and now he's going to be in the loop. Also, thinking about the fact that Randy Orton returned as well, and where he's going to play into it. This whole thing with Punk has become so big, so huge, that it's something that I don't think a lot of people saw coming. But when it came, I think there's a lot of people who felt very different emotions about it. And Voice, I know you have been somebody who has talked very strongly, had a very strong opinion on CM Punk. So I want to ask you, because we haven't had a chance to talk about it, man. What was your reaction when CM Punk returned at the end of the Survivor Series? And as far as what you're seeing from him now, where are you at this current standpoint, about 2 weeks into CM Punk's return to WWE?
Well, first I was shocked. I was afraid. I was petrified. And then, no, I was very shocked with the fact that he came back, because of so many people talking about how he was not going to be back. They
Right.
played that card very well, and I appreciated it, because I was one of them touting he will not be back. This isn't going to happen. He burned way too many bridges. Things are not they're not good with the brand of CM Punk right now.
Right.
Then he comes back. He hits. I'm a little upset. I was on a live stream with Chris Parrish, and my jaw dropped. I was shocked to see CM Punk walking out there, Chicago cheering him on. And the reaction, I mean, I like you was looking for what's Seth gonna do, and then as soon as I went to Twitter, I seen him flipping him off.
Yeah.
And then we had Monday. He came out. I wasn't really interested. I let it go, let it all die down. But this last appearance we just had of him,
Mm-hmm.
what pisses me off the most is the simple fact that he's making me a fan again. Because the way he delivered his promo, the way he came out there, the way he doesn't even have to lace up boots yet, and everybody's already CM Punk. I like the storyline. I like the angles they're going. I feel WWE has hit a mark right now with CM Punk, to where Triple H might have been able to work out a deal with him where all the bullshit is left aside and it's money time. Let's make money time. We can make money. Still, though, I'm holding back until I see him get into his first actual full-blown storyline, to where we see what he can do again. We can see the brilliance of CM Punk, of what we all fell in love with back in the day. The amazing ability that CM Punk has on just in a ring is something I look forward to and hope that he will obtain again. I mean, I really do. I hope everything works out for him, and I hope that this whole new venture for him is a profitable one and a good one for everybody involved.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that, man. I really do. As far as everything that CM Punk is doing and the way that they're presenting him, you make a lot of good points. And one thing that I've noticed is he just looks happier. You know what I'm saying? Very good point. It seems like
he has really turned a corner. And I was having some conversations about this as far as with people who are CM Punk fans and this return. I really feel like that everything that happened with AEW and him, something clicked inside of his brain to where he was like, you know what? There's definitely a certain way that I want to push my brand. There's a certain way I want to contribute to wrestling. And I think that when he was with WWE on his first stint, he was pushing against the grain. He was trying to push against the machine in a way that would benefit him, would benefit superstars that came from a background like him. And at the end of the day, he just got so enthralled and he got so deeply entrenched in trying to be that type of martyr that it ended up getting him into a state of where his emotions just couldn't even deal with it anymore. And then he comes with that same like big dog status in AEW. Not to say that he doesn't deserve it, but you know, he came in like, hey, I'm gonna get my own show. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna help this. I'm gonna help that. And then, you know, everything goes down how it goes down with the Bucks and Kenny, and it's like, guys, we got to do business. And I think that how everything went down with that, there's things that CM Punk have done that I haven't liked, but I will never say that he's a stupid man. And I think that a smart man knows when to grow, when to let things go, when to let bygones be bygones. And he saw that bygones weren't going to be bygones with the Bucks. Bygones weren't going to be the bygones with Kenny Omega. And it was just a wear on him emotionally. I think that with people jumping over and being presented like how Cody Rhodes is being presented now, how Jade Cargill is being presented without even having to step into a ring, I think he saw that as an opportunity like, you know what? Not only can I come in here and be presented in a way that I think, you know, suits my brand, they're going to let me be me and let me do how I do things on this landscape of WWE talent, where as long as I play by the company's rules, something that I've pushed against, but now the kind of things have kind of changed, there's a new regime in there that's willing to kind of let me be me a little bit more, you know, I can work with this, I can do this. And I think that as long as that mindset is within him, and as long as, you know, things are amicable, I think that we can really see a revenge tour from CM Punk in his WWE reign. P, as somebody who has been in the ring many a times, somebody who's been pushed in ways that maybe it's not ideal for you, and then other times where you've been able to kind of have the reins creatively, because one, people have those conversations with you like, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about, he knows what it is. What's your perception on the return of CM Punk and the way he's been presented as opposed to how he's been presented, or how he was presented in AEW, on top of the backstage chemistry and where that comes into the play as far as a wrestler's career?
So some of y'all are not going to like what I'm going to say. And y'all going to have to deal with it. Because I'm coming from a place of somebody who knows people on both brands, who hears stuff, as well as somebody in the business. First and foremost, I kind of stopped being a huge CM Punk fan when he left ECW to go to SmackDown, Raw, etc. I saw the appeal. He just wasn't as for me, because granted, also when that stuff was going on, I was a young fan. I was a Jeff Hardy mark, you know, that was my whole thing. Mm-hmm. So some of that stuff, and he just wasn't for me, you know, especially because I also watched so much stuff outside of WWE. So it felt like a lot of stuff I was watching him do, I was like, oh, there's somebody else I feel like can do it better. Like some of the stuff that CM Punk would do, I'm like, oh, well, Samoa Joe does that, or AJ Styles does that, or Pac does that, you know, Neville. And so I was seeing all these people doing these things that I have now exposed myself to. And so though I appreciated CM Punk, most of the stuff for him that got me was his stuff outside the ring, his promos, his character work, things like that.
Right.
And even still, there were certain times where I was like, it feels like he's getting a lot of attention. His first run, a lot of people said he burned bridges. And like you said, there were things that he was doing where he was trying to be the martyr. But then you also hear a lot of people say, even during that time period, there were things he did that rubbed people the wrong way. Whether it was the people that he was dating, because CM Punk got more bodies than John Mayer and John Gotti. You know,
that's a lot of bodies.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So they said that, CM Punk, rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. But at the same time, though, one could argue that's greatness. I mean, two of the greatest people in music are Prince and Michael Jackson, and they constantly rubbed each other the wrong way because they were both trying to be great. Right. The one thing that Prince had that Michael Jackson desired and craved was an Oscar. The one thing that Prince wanted so badly that Michael Jackson had was Album of the Year. So think about that. They both were striving for greatness, and yet they still envied each other, but they also had a respect for each other. And I feel he went to AEW, and there was a lot of promise there because we hadn't seen him for so long. We wanted to see what was going to go on. We were wanting to see what was going to happen. And I'm going to be honest with you. When he went there, I did not give a damn. I didn't. I was like, oh, this is cool. Let's see how long this lasts, because I feel like they're going to overexpose him, and they kind of did. Right. But something has to be said about selling out a building on a rumor. CM Punk sold out that building on a rumor. There was no confirmation he was going to be there. Right. That is something that nobody in wrestling is currently doing.
Right.
No one is out. Like, once upon a time when we were selling out buildings and stuff like that, you had to announce someone was going to be there or whatever. They sold out a building on a rumor.
That's heavy.
That's incredible.
It's heavy.
That is.
And then he gets there, and here's the part where sometimes Voice makes me mad and other people make me mad. Is because y'all made me have to defend somebody I can't stand.
I remember the conversation quite well.
You remember this, and it's because a lot of people, when CM Punk was handling things a certain way and doing stuff a certain way, people got upset because their mindset was, this is not how you do stuff. Mm-hmm. But it is in wrestling. A lot of things in wrestling, and we've gotten a lot softer. We've gotten a lot easier, a lot nicer. But even still, there is a way that things are handled in wrestling behind the scenes. And sometimes it's handled that way, so we aren't running to news outlets. So we aren't running to Meltzer and a whole bunch of other stuff. Mm-hmm. We used to have Wrestlers Court. We had a locker room that had a legitimate locker room leader, and we handled things a certain way to keep things in-house.
Right.
I believe... I could be wrong because I wasn't there. A lot of stuff that I'm going to say is either from what I was told or me not being there. And I'm going to give my opinion as someone who is assuming, but not saying I know it for fact. Or someone who was told stuff, but since I wasn't there, I don't know the whole story, the whole truth. CM Punk was trying to be that locker room leader. The issue is, there is this guy on YouTube. His name was Hot Damn I Rock Kane Carter. Love that dude. Wish his videos did not get taken down and destroyed. But he had a really famous video where he said, everything you hate, you are. And if anybody's ever watched Batman, they say you either die a hero or live long enough to become a villain.
Yeah.
I feel like that happened with CM Punk. I feel like CM Punk went to AEW when he talked about all the legends and part-timers that could come and go as they please. And then that's who he became.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is, he was the part-timer coming and going as he pleased, getting handed title opportunities very quickly and things like that. And again, the whole world put on his back. Very similar to a Hogan. Very similar to a Goldberg. Very similar to Batista. Very similar to a lot of part-time Lesnar. Very similar to a lot of part-timers we have these issues and problems with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he gets this whole rocket ship put to his back. And he's trying to still be the voice of the voiceless. It's hard to be the man of the people when the people no longer see you as one of them. And I think that's kind of what the issue is. It's hard to, I'm just like you when you rocking this, however $100,000 watch or driving this car or got this, your contract bigger than mine.
Yeah.
It's like stand-up comedians. We find stand-up comedians funnier when they're struggling, when they're hungry. Once they get successful, it feels like they lose their edge because they're not hungry anymore.
Yeah.
And I feel like certain people were like, oh, well, you're older now and you've done this and you doing that. You don't know anything, which is very hard when you feel like you're trying to help somebody and they're not listening. And that's in wrestling as a veteran. one of the most disrespectful things you can do is if a veteran gives you advice and you either yeah, but, or you ignore them. There's still people in indies now that smack you in the mouth for that, because as a veteran, I'm taking my time to educate you and to help you, etc. I feel like things definitely could have been handled differently, but I feel like a lot of things were handled via how the business was and how it used to be. And we have to remember, CM Punk's been wrestling since before the 2000s.
Yeah. He's been
A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't realize that he came up in a system where that's how things were handled when people were disrespectful, cross lines, or whatever, especially when you were genuinely trying to help.
Right.
Bridges were burned. Things happen. I'm not going to say that he was right or wrong, but what I'm going to say is there's layers to stuff and there's other avenues and ways to look at things, especially because a lot of people say the common denominator is Punk, but then we heard about the problems before he got there and the problems after he already left.
Right.
And I'm not saying that the things are correlated, but the common denominator is the company, not necessarily the person. It can't always be somebody else's fault.
Right.
And then he gets back to WWE. I'm just trying to wrap this up because I know.
Sure.
But he gets to WWE, and when he gets to WWE, people are mad. But like you said, maybe we're at a point now where we're willing to make money off of the things that piss us off. I know I compared Punk to Hogan, but once upon a time, I compared him to Kyrie Irving.
Oh, yeah, I can see it.
And Kyrie is a very polarizing person, like you mentioned, Khan.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing about being polarizing. When you have somebody like a LeBron, like a Triple H, that's able to bring the best out of you or say, let's get this win, let's get this championship, let's get this money, let's get these views, let's get this business in order, you could probably make stuff work. And he looks happy now. And whether it's he's happy because he's making some stupid money, whether he's happy because he feels like he gets to work with professionals, whether he's happy because he feels like I can be in the ring with somebody who I know hates my guts, but I don't have to worry about them putting me on the shelf.
Yeah. Yep.
And, you know, you're not having to worry about certain safety protocols and this and that and whatever. And I believe that, and I say this with a grain of salt, I believe if everybody can remain professional, if they can put the business first, and if they can put the bag first, this can be one of the most craziest times in professional wrestling history.
I agree.
But that's going to take people doing what they. I don't know where the balloons came from.
I was gonna say. He was. I know, he was like
Dude, that was
encapsulating
perfect.
what he was saying.
You were just like a magician, dude.
But that's. I thought that was y'all. But that's going to take everybody putting in the work, and that's how I look at it. No matter how you feel about CM Punk, no matter how you feel about WWE, no matter how you feel about AEW wrestling, we got to start putting in the work. And I feel like right now we're in a place where we could potentially see that happen. We could potentially see some work happen. And honestly, I'm putting this out there right now. What's one thing that CM Punk wanted that he never got? Well, two things that he wanted but he never got.
One thing I could think of is main event in a WrestleMania.
And what was the second thing that he never got that he wanted?
I'm trying to think of which I can't. Yeah. What was the other thing?
It's right around the corner, winning the Royal Rumble.
Oh,
it is right there. It is right there. We are right there. My favorite event, the Royal Rumble.
I totally forgot he hasn't won one of those.
That's right. My goodness, man.
And so CM Punk wins the Royal Rumble. CM Punk says, since you have a problem with me, Seth, and I've never held that championship before, why don't you and I see, who really is the voice of the people?
All right. I like
That's what I'm predicting. I'm calling that right now.
I like that. I definitely like the heat that is behind the Seth Rollins and CM Punk potential feud. They're talking about each other. We know it's coming. And really, I really feel like, to me, between those two, there's had to be a conversation had backstage. I mean, for them to be doing what they're doing and taking shots at each other the way they're taking shots at each other. And this is what I always enjoy about wrestling. To me, this is enjoyable. I don't want to hear, that you guys have made up. If you guys are still in your prime, if you guys can still actively put a great story together, I don't want to hear that you made up. Show me by not showing me. And that's by having a banger story with the background that actually that it is WWE. It centers around WWE, but the beef has been had
even with the man being out of WWE, there's some heat behind this hatred that we see between Seth Rollins and CM Punk, talking about, oh, I don't want to talk about a guy that matters, or even saying things like, oh, you're not even the man in your own household. And it's like, okay, so a conversation has had to be backstage between these two where it's like, you know what? I don't mess with you. You said things that I didn't like. You said I was a bootlicker.
Yeah, he called him out, but honestly, from what I've been told, this started even before WWE. This started back when CM Punk was in OVW WWE, and it said that, you know, when Seth Rollins was having his run with ROH before he signed to WWE and did the FCW route, why is this kid ripping off my whole gimmick? He's doing the summer of Tyler Black as if he thinks he's CM Punk, and then him doing the whole I'm leaving with the title. And apparently some people don't always look as imitation as flattery.
Yeah. So that's what we're seeing there with those two, and it's good. There's a lot of legs there, and kudos to somebody like Triple H who can get in somebody like CM Punk's ear. You know, for me, it's like Phil Jackson talking to Dennis Rodman. You know what I'm saying? Like Phil Jackson talking to Ron Artest, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I know you're belligerent. I know you a fool. I know that you are legitimately crazy. Like, you are crazy. And we know the types, they dogs. They are for real crazy. They will loke up on you. But if you have somebody that's in their ear that's an OG to them, somebody that they respect, somebody like Triple H who called Punk out on his shit. Called Punk out on all his shit on live television. And Punk, somebody who's been known to call out bullshit, has to respect that about him. He might not like it, but he has to respect, hey, if this man cares enough about me to call me out on my bullshit, to call me out on my BS, he's going to do what's best for me and my character and my image and my brand. If I put all things aside and just be like, you know what? You said some things, I said some things, I was young, I'm ready to do business, and I just want to have an opportunity to show y'all that you can get the most out of CM Punk. And you also got to believe that there's a little bit of resentment there. There's got to be some resentment fueling this WWE run from CM Punk as opposed to looking at AEW and saying, hey, everything that I was about to do for y'all, I'm about to do it for them tenfold and make y'all hurt for it. So, you know, it's interesting times. This CM Punk acquisition is very, very interesting, and everything that we can see, not only at WrestleMania, but past that, because there's so many feuds that can be had. Where's Roman Reigns going to play into it? He's already called out Roman Reigns. He's, you know, they both have those ties to Paul Heyman, and that was something that was talked about on SmackDown. It's going to be interesting to see how Paul Heyman comes into play. Everybody who, and myself, considers him to be one of the best managers of all time, and even in the current day. There's definitely definitely great managers out there. Not saying there's not great managers out there. Somebody who indulges in that craft, I pay attention. I'm out there, I see him, you know. But Paul Heyman is somebody who has been on the upper echelon of the business as a manager and as a mind, and now his presence in this specific potential feud between Reigns and Punk is going to be very, very pivotal, and it's something that everybody's going to be paying attention to. Punk is going to be a very interesting acquisition for WWE, and we just got to see what happens next. We just really got to see what happens next. It's going to be interesting to see where he plays into it and the role that CM Punk will play with the company ahead. But, man, Voice, you have been doing a lot of work with your watch-alongs, window lickers, and the work is not going unseen. You're out there grinding, taking a lot of time to hit different shows, taking a lot of time to host your own shows, and it's respected, man. So AEW is just pushing along. Myself, I can honestly say that AEW has not been the most interesting watch for me, and that's not hatred. It's not anything like that. It's just
For me, I'm very into what's going on with WWE. I just feel like things are moving in a place right now where things are going to be super, super hot. We're moving into Mania season. And I do feel like some of that is due to AEW's existence. I do believe that, but what's going on? So a few things on the AEW side of things that are sparking your interest, that have you really like, you know what, I might enjoy what's going on with WWE, but I mean AEW is still keeping my attention with these three things. What do you got, bro?
Well, first off, I mean the Continental Classic tournament that they have going on. At first, I didn't think I was going to enjoy it. I just was like, oh, here's another gimmick tournament where it's just going to be the same guys pushed down our throats and things like that. But I've actually enjoyed it. There's been some great matches. Andrade has been a phenomenal on Collision. He is actually one of the biggest draws for me right now for Collision itself. They're really packaging him in a easily digestible way for the casual fan, but a way that you can become somebody who cheers for him and sees the progression, because as of last night, that him and Bryan Danielson had a banger of a match. And at the end of it, you see him trying to help out Bryan Danielson because he got injured. He got his eye above his eye, he got it busted open, and they really worked it throughout the match, just trying doing little spots where they were opening it up more. It made you buy into it, like this the evilness Andrade's bringing. And then you have with that, you have the whole thing with CJ and Miro. CJ's being Andrade's manager. So they're still, I'm not too thrilled about that spot, because they're it's like they're playing old WWE tapes, and they're like, oh, this is what we can do with these two, and fans like it. Well, that can bite you in the ass. It could, because that story could go wrong.
Yeah, it could be the Bobby Lashley and CJ story all over again.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and that was cringe. Oh man,
It was why are we doing this? This doesn't make sense. But I will say I'm really enjoying Daniel Garcia's climb. He's really showing some great things out there. Not only just, the humorous breaking out and dancing every once in a while. His matches have been something to watch on Collision.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would say the whole House of Black dynamic, they're trying to obtain FTR into the fold. And in my opinion, you put House of Black, FTR together, say goodbye to all the championships, because they're collecting them all. And that's including Julia Hart. And she's got a side story going on right now with, I forget how you say her name, but it's like Abaddon.
Yeah, Abaddon.
And they're really like trying to mold her story. And it's really cool to see Julia Hart kind of playing this House of Black Malachi figure as a female, trying to bring in more females into House of Black. But I honestly, Willow, she is another reason why I watch Collision. I'm enjoying her story. I like her in-ring work. She's really putting together packages that I'm enjoying, man.
Yeah, she's good.
She's really good.
Yeah, I was on a show with Willow, and there were a bunch of super indie names on there. There were even overseas international names on there. And it was Willow versus Brooke Valentine. And they were match of the night. There was no one that compared to the work they put in. And I remember telling my friend, I said, that's what women's wrestling is supposed to be. And if we had more wrestling like that, you wouldn't see a wrestling show that only has one women's match because they see it as just an attraction. We would have more women's matches on the card because we would have women wrestling like this. Same with tag team matches. You have more tag team matches, but man, when I tell you it was immaculate. That's that shit that doesn't piss me off. If y'all know about the pissed off P thing, that's the shit that don't piss me off.
Man, it's great to hear that.
The Mercedes Martinez match in Willow last night was one of the top matches of the night.
Not shocking.
It was really good.
That's not shocking. I'm glad to hear that. With all the critique and whatnot of AEW and the utilization of their women's division, it's really nice to hear that there's growth happening with Julia Hart, and we're seeing more prevalent things going on with Willow Nightingale, and it's great to see. I mean, even we have Athena and Billy Starks that's coming up, and they've done good growing that little angle on Ring of Honor with her being a minion. I do see some growth in AEW with their women's division, which honestly for many years has been one of their biggest weaknesses, is growing a women's division. And it really just speaks to how you want to utilize your women. And I think that with WWE, I'm sorry, it might be cliche to say, but they've set a really good precedent of how you push your women. I'm on the board. I'm on the side that Impact has an above average women's division, above average, but WWE's presentation, especially after watching NXT Deadline, which we're going to talk about on the other side of this episode, I got to tell you that the way that they grow their women's division is not only very professionally done, but I'm also a very big fan of seeing the sisterhood between the women. It doesn't feel like they're out to step on each other. They're out there to help each other out and lift each other up and be the best versions of themselves and help them be the best versions of each other. And I think that when you're playing on the same team, even though you're wrestling each other, but we all know it's a dance, right? Like, it takes two to tangle, sometimes three or four more, and you know, it's gotta be a dance. And when everybody's out there for the best interest of each other, it's just a great opportunity to grow stars. And I just think that the way that WWE has presented it is top notch and is the pinnacle right now of women's wrestling. So great to see the growth. Great to see that going on. Great to hear good things going on with AEW. Sometimes when you hear all of the stuff that goes on backstage, and like, that's what we consume, right? Like, especially in the media, in the wrestling media, we consume everything that happens backstage. And the issue is, when you get so consumed with the things that's happening backstage, you kind of get distracted from the amazing things that are going on in the ring. And I really feel like that's a thing with AEW. And I just want to see everything. I want it to be good. I want it to all go good, but I just think there's a certain way. So we're going to talk NXT Deadline. Before we do, I do want to ask Pete, because we didn't really get his take in things as far as AEW. So we're hearing all these great things that are going on, whether it be all the things that Voice said or the things that's going on with Swerve Strickland, who's having a really great rise, MJF and the Devil, things of that nature, all those things that's going on. Where do you feel like, from your perspective, P, where's the percentage level as far as the interest level with AEW? Is there a higher percentage of people that's more interested in the drama going on backstage than what's going on in the ring that's actually good, that fans really should be paying attention to? Is it topsy-turvy? Is it 50-50? Where are we at, and where do you think that fine line that we're playing with AEW and the backstage issues as opposed to what's going on good in the ring, where are we at as far as, are they playing with fire? Are they on the hot seat here as far as one being louder than the other? What do you think?
I'm being 100% honest with you. I think right now people are starting to become slightly more interested in the drama than the actual show itself. The reason I say that is because it feels like every single day I'm seeing a report about something. And whether people try to deny it or say it's BS, you keep seeing stuff, and then that's what people keep sharing.
Right.
I have recently, I want to say in the last 6 months, I've seen more people share stuff about AEW drama than the AEW matches and the AEW wrestling. I want to be more invested in AEW myself, and I have been watching a bunch of stuff with AEW that I've been liking. But one thing I know is it can bog people down, especially a casual fan. And if it can bog down a casual fan, you and I talked about this. We're in the business of creating new fans, not maintaining our current ones.
Right.
Yes, of course, we want to maintain our current ones, but if you only want to maintain your current fans, you're never going to grow.
Right.
You know, you can't grow, you can't evolve. You know, it's like nutrition almost. If you're just maintaining a certain diet and you're not doing less, you're never going to lose weight. If you don't eat more, you're never going to gain weight. You know, if you want to build muscle, you got to do this, you got to do that, etc. Mm-hmm. And I feel like right now, a lot of stuff that we're dealing with AEW is they're in a growth period.
Yeah.
And with being in a growth period is uncomfortable. I mean, there's a reason we call it growing pains, you know. And right now they're dealing with growing pains. They have some great stuff going on right now. But because of said growing pains, you're also hearing about all of these other things that are kind of loud. And we don't realize that some of these things that are loud might be beneficial. But I think this kind of goes back to, and this is me personally, the fans don't need to know everything. Because it feels like...
So true.
I truly feel like the less I knew as a fan, the more I was able to enjoy wrestling. The more I was able to enjoy the wrestlers. The more I was able to look at a bad guy and a good guy and decide who I wanted to cheer for versus, oh, now your personal views are affected, or the things that you say or the way that you treated this person is now affecting if I want to cheer you or not, or if I want to turn off the match when you're on and stuff like that. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I feel like we need to get back to wrestling being wrestling. And I feel like AEW they're dealing with growing pains right now. The issue is they're on a big stage dealing with growing pains. If they didn't have a big TV deal and they were dealing with growing pains, I mean, yeah, whatever. But when you're on a big stage dealing with growing pains, you see it. I think they are probably 55 drama, 45 actually the product right now.
I could see that. That's hefty. I mean, that's hefty. The fact that it's over, the actual in-ring product. To me, that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, it just takes away from the talent that's not causing problems, and in the ring and just trying to get pushed. Because like what you and what Voice were just talking about, you guys were talking about the greatness of the House of Black, the greatness of Andrade, the greatness of all these other names, Swerve Strickland, and like, these are people who should have the spotlight placed on them. They are people who should be what we are talking about when we talk about names that are synonymous with AEW, and not talking about the Young Bucks and their inability to get along with people, or their immaturity, things of that nature, or not
even just that, or just hearing that now Bryan Danielson, my bad. Bryan Danielson is now in power, and he's finding wrestlers for speaking out, or wrestlers are speaking out on social media. And it's like, these are things that the more we see this and the more we hear this, it takes away from the product.
Right. It really does. Yeah. It really does. Because like when I watch wrestling, like, obviously we cover things that go on in wrestling news. So the thing about being a podcaster, and people don't like podcasters for it, is, and I know I've been accused of it too, of talking about rumors that are shown on dirt sheets and whatnot. But like, it's just like I tell anybody who in the business who's talked to me about this, I'm like, I'm not, if you actually listen to the podcast, if you actually listen to me talk about these things, I usually say these are not based in facts. We read it off of this dirt sheet, allegedly. I've used allegedly a lot. Like, nothing that I report on or that I talk about, if it's in a dirt sheet, I'm not presenting it as fact, but I will give you my opinion if that is what is happening, and it's so loud. The noise with the backstage stuff, as far as the reports and things that come out, it's so loud when it comes to AEW. When what should be loud is, when is Swerve Strickland going to get his AEW championship opportunity? You know what I'm saying? What should be loud is the popularity of the Swerve dance. What should be loud is the great work that MJF is consistently doing. I just think that in a landscape where you have guys doing fantastic work, I mean, you have Seth Rollins out here having a great title reign. You have NXT, which of course we're going to talk about, with all this great talent just waiting in the wings. Cody Rhodes, one of the top guys. Drew McIntyre starting to enter his menace era, you know, and there's a lot of things that's special that are going on within the confines of WWE. And I don't care if you want to call yourself competition. I don't care if you call yourself or want to call yourself an alternative. Whatever that you be, you need to be that. Get it together. Get all your shit together. Put it all together.
Get all your shit in a box.
Just put it all together. Get your shit together. You know, like, get it together. Let's figure it out. Let's figure out how we push and Swerve to the title. Let's figure out how we're going to push Willow Nightingale. Let's keep playing around with Julia Hart and putting her in situations where she can grow as a talent. You know, let's keep pushing the House of Black. You know, if you want to have your little pseudo DX versus NWO rivalry with Judgment Day and House of Black, cool, let's do it. You know, let's get it cracking, you know, but figure it out and get your house in order, because in order for me to really want to, you know, push for it, to really want to get behind it, because I was a huge advocate for AEW when it first came together, and now here we are in year 4, and I'm like, you know, if you're asking me personally, and I'm not into that tribalism shit, but if you're asking me my opinion, and we talking about points, WWE is winning points on AEW for me personally. For me, I can only speak for myself. But what I'm seeing in WWE, it's cracking, it's clicking, it's working, because it seems like it's a well-oiled machine of people trying to, on a nightly basis, put out the best product for the people out there, and for being the number one company, whether you want to call it the number one company in the world or the United States, it's both. But they're operating at a trajectory that is great for the company. Record numbers everywhere they go. Going outside of the country next year and going to places that they've never been before. Come on, dog. To me, personally, it's not even close, and I want AEW to be good. I want all wrestling to be good, but you got to get your shit in order. God. God.
Very true.
So, you know, we have had a great episode here, a return episode here on the In Your House podcast with the voice Josh Joseph, and of course the world's most dangerous game and podcaster Paragon, and it has been great. You guys can check this out on the podcast edition. That's right, we're coming back to Spotify, we're coming back to Apple Podcasts, as opposed to just being on YouTube and being on Twitch and our Facebook, which we definitely want you to give us a follow there, and that's great. But I know a lot of you podcast listeners have asked me, when is the podcast edition coming back? I listen to you when I'm at work. I listen to you when I'm on the way to work or school or whatever, and I appreciate that, Shaw. I appreciate you asking that, because, like, it's nice to hear, you know, you could brighten up somebody's day or get them thinking as far as this professional wrestling business. So it's great. So yeah, we're going to be right back cracking up on Apple and Spotify, and we've got it cracking. We've got it going down. You guys heard the top of the show. New theme song, you know, new music for the new year. We're jumping right into it. It's a movie, y'all. And another movie that we saw was NXT Deadline. This was the last premium live event for NXT of the year, and I thought that they ended on a very strong note as far as that. This was a show where there was some mixed reviews, but this was an introduction back into NXT for me, and it was an enjoyable one as somebody who has been a huge fan of NXT for many, many years. I was just talking about it a little bit before the show as far as how long I've been watching NXT since they merged with FCW, all the names that were there, all the names that have come through NXT and this developmental system that it has become, and it has always been for many years now. NXT now has a legacy behind it, a very well respected and revered legacy, and since the revamp that we have seen lately, it's kind of hitting the stride again. Most definitely, it's hitting the stride. And it's great to see this level of talent start to grow within the confines of WWE and their new program, Next in Line program, where they get the top scale talent. And it's great. And not only are we seeing that talent, we're also seeing talent that has come through the systems. And we got a lot of great matches in this one, starting with a North American Championship match. We saw Dirty Dominic Mysterio, of course, of the Judgment Day, go up against Dragon Lee for the North American Championship. And I thought this was a good match. As I was watching this match, and I want to talk about this really with P, because he's been following so much NXT lately, and he's talked a lot about what he's liked and what he hasn't liked on the Pissed Off P segments. If you guys go and check those out on the In Your House page. Episode 1 just came out. It was great. Produced by Hypocrisy Jones and Paragon. It was just great stuff. Check it out. We had our opening match here, and I kind of enjoyed it. One thing that stood out to me, P, was that I found myself talking to my son about it, and I was like, you know what, this is a great cruiserweight style match. And I was like, wait a minute, this isn't a cruiserweight match technically. I mean, yes, these guys are probably within the parameters of this being a cruiserweight match, but this isn't technically a cruiserweight match, it's a North American Championship match. And then I got myself to thinking, like, man, somebody like Dominic Mysterio, who is a heel, would be a great face of a cruiserweight division, because he can wrestle at that fast pace as a cruiserweight, but also because of how he is as a heel and the heat that he gets, he's also somebody that can slow down the pace. And I think that is key in especially as a heel in the cruiserweight division, is you can get so caught up in doing the ooh-ah moves that you're like, oh, wait a minute, I'm a heel. Like, I think you got to be able to slow down the pace and play to the crowd. What did you think about this match, and what do you think about Dominic Mysterio and Dragon Lee? Because I know you're somebody that is very, very close to that Lucha Libre type style, and you've always, loved it.
So, first and foremost, one of the MVPs from this show is Dominic Mysterio.
Okay.
And that leg spot where Dragon Lee gets like up and over and then catch the leg was some nasty work. That was some nasty work. All in all, I enjoyed the match, but I would say I enjoyed the match more for Dominic Mysterio. And it almost got to the point where I was like, is Dom really the heel? Because his dad is a hater at this point. Like, I feel like we got to send Rey Mysterio to the player haters ball. And mind you, it's like, I get it. Dom done some foul stuff, but this Oedipus Rex stuff is getting out of hand at this point, okay? I'm like they're each other's ops. I get it, but at this point, there was no reason for Rey and even Dragon Lee to be involved. I feel like somebody else could have got put in Dragon Lee's spot, but Rey Mysterio, you're wrong. That's some nasty work out there, being your son's op, and then hugging on somebody who's not your biological, talking about you're the future. You did this for the family. Bruh.
It's Dom.
Like, man, that's your last name.
Is Dom a little right? Like, is Ray a deadbeat? Like, oh no, I'm starting to see some things.
It's some nasty work.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the match. I really enjoyed the fact that Dom, is a great heel. Like, him doing the Eddie stuff, like doing Eddie's taunts and then doing Eddie's moves to get the reaction was great. I also will say, so if when Rey Mysterio hits the 619, he goes to your right side. Mm-hmm. Dom goes to the left side. And it pisses me off. But it pisses me off in a special way, because when he does it in front of Rey Mysterio, it reminds me of when Chris Tucker kicks with the wrong leg in front of Michael Jackson. Shit pisses me off. That's how it makes me feel. But other than that, I enjoyed the match. I do believe, and I will stand on this, I'll stand on business 10 toes down. Dragon Lee needs to let his Liger Bomb be his finish. Because his Tilter World Sliced Bread, in my opinion, never gets the reaction, never looks as impactful, and doesn't look like it's going to actually win. I guess a great example of that is a while back, Randy Orton was doing angle slams.
Yeah,
for a really weird period in time.
Yeah.
And he actually ended a match with one of those angle slams, and I'm like, is he trying to get rid of RKO? Because no.
You can't do that.
And so it's yeah, don't do that. What are you doing? And that's kind of how it's making me feel. It's like he was beating people with this Liger Bomb not long ago, and now he's hitting it, and now it truly is becoming a falsie, and that's cool, I guess. because you show people you can win with it. It just irritates me when I'm like, dog, like this tilt-a-whirl sliced bread doesn't have the same oomph as that Liger Bomb. But that's what I felt about the match. MVP was Dom. Rey Mysterio is a hater, and Christmas gonna be awkward this year.
The holidays have been very awkward, even in the last year for Dominic Mysterio and my man Ray. It's crazy. This story has been keep on going. I'm here for it. I was even telling my son last night, like, are we gonna get Dom versus Ray 2 at WrestleMania? Because at this point, that's what I can see happening. Once again, this NXT deadline, I really feel like it was a good show. One thing that happened before this match went down, we had HBK come out. HBK comes out doing his thing, got his cowboy hat. And we saw earlier in the day that CM Punk was in town. He was in town at Bridgeport, same place where NXT Deadline was taking place. So to almost nobody's surprise, Punk comes out, interrupts HBK, and they come out and have a nice little feel-good moment. A little selfies involved, a little joke crack there about the Bret Hart hoodie. And it was a nice. I was even telling Morph, I was like, this is nice, you know, like to me, even and Punk even saying there's healing to be done, and I'm like, man, Punk is like this man is like going through something right now, like that's what I'm saying. And I don't know, when I say he's going through something, usually that's put in a negative connotation. I'm not saying he's going through something in a bad way. I think he's going through actual healing. And
it's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
Yes, exactly. And I think that something's going down here, and I love to see it. I will say I felt the angle was a little bit awkward. Seemed like it was just something that's thrown together, like, hey, let's go out there and do this. Because when Punk's music hit, it was just an awkward ending to it. It was a little weird. I appreciate the moment. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate the moment. But like I said, just for me, just a little weird and awkward and not like thoroughly planned. I don't think situations like this always need to be like thoroughly planned out. Obviously they went out there and was like, hey, let's just talk, you know, and that's fine. But once again, that's just my view on it. Thought it was fine for what it was. P, what was you thinking about this little reconciliation, as it were, in ring between HBK and CM Punk?
I mean, you kind of said it. It was a feel-good moment. I'm going to also put it like this. On one end, you made NXT feel important because you had Punk actually show up.
Right.
I don't think anyone genuinely felt he was going to show up to anything NXT.
No.
Until they said he was in town. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
No one thought what would be the reason, right? Mm-hmm. Granted, he'd be the most extremely highest paid person on NXT, but, you know, you get what I'm saying. Like, no one thought that was going to be a possibility. So him coming down there and saying, why aren't people talking about me potentially showing up here? Made it feel important. And it also added possibilities of, ooh, Punk versus Carmelo Hayes. Ooh, Punk versus Braun Breaker. Ooh, it's like it makes the conversation happen. So then it makes you go, ooh, keep Punk away from the young. I'm joking. I'm about to say, we don't need no more bodies. No, I'm playing. But I will say, though, I kind of agree with you. Because they said it in the thing when they were doing the promos, they forgot their lines. Yeah. Them forgetting the reason they were out there kind of made the moment fall a little bit flat, made it kind of feel awkward. But it was still feel good that Punk brought it up. As people walking up to me saying, I grew up watching you, can I take a picture? I get to do this with you. It kind of, I don't say this about wrestling. I don't say this about dudes, and I don't say this about dudes in wrestling. The moment was cute. It was cute as shit.
Yeah.
It was a cute as shit moment.
It was a cute moment, yeah.
It was a cute as shit moment. That's that shit I like. I'm not going to lie. It was a cute as shit moment.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it was a good moment going with everything that's going on with CM Punk. Like I said, I was ready to, in my mind, just shut him out. Just be like, I'm done with this guy. You have all this potential. I've always been a fan of you, and you're just fumbling the bag. And now to see him in this headspace, to me, is good for him mentally, good for wrestling as a whole. And I'm very excited to see where it goes. And I'm somebody that believes that growth and maturity is something where it's like, you know, if you can change your mind when new facts or new things are presented to you, that's growth, that's maturity. You know, standing on something is great, but when somebody or something actually shows change, actually shows growth, actually shows willingness to want to collaborate, like, let it go. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Let it go. Let's
Yeah.
make money. Let's do good business. That's what I'm seeing with CM Punk. It seems like everybody is so open to him being there. And honestly, honestly, a little bit this all feels like one big, quiet but loud fuck you to AEW. Like, like, oh, you're gonna fumble one of the biggest names in wrestling? Let me show you how you take this guy and present him. Let me take this asset that you had no idea how to make money with, and I'm gonna show you how to make money. And
Hold on. To be fair, and see, y'all done made me defend CM Punk, and now you're about to make me defend AEW. What are y'all doing this episode? To be fair, who fumbled him first?
Good point.
I mean, I bring this up because somebody was talking about how, AEW fumbled Cody and they fumbled Punk. Well, who fumbled him first?
True.
Oh, Impact. How did you let Drew McIntyre get away? Who fumbled him first? There are a lot of people that we see come back to WWE, and we love when they come back because they get that time away. They get that time to evolve. They get the time to raise their stock. Sometimes that's needed. But at the same time, don't forget how many people never left WWE and all their stock did was rise. Miz's stock rose.
Yep.
Cena's stock rose. Kofi's stock rose. Roman stock rose. So, like, I can keep on going on a whole list of people who, even if they had a small time on the indies, once they got to the Fed, it was just upward trajectory. Whereas you had guys like Punk, guys like McIntyre, guys like Cody, I can continue, where they left and then they had to leave. They had to leave in order to make their stock what it is now.
Yeah.
Very true.
That's true. I also, would be remiss to not mention the fact that we're under a brand new regime with the WWE that I think is a little bit more in touch with talent of today than the former regime. What do wrestling fans like today? Like, I feel like Vince definitely had his finger on the pulse and like as far as like Smash Crash TV in the 90s and stuff like that with with the Attitude Era, and of course some of that was Russo too. But
His Jerry Springer wrestling.
Yeah, Jerry Springer wrestling. Yeah, for sure. No lies there. But it worked then. But what's gonna create new fans and keep the current fans now? And I feel like that this current regime in WWE has a better finger on the pulse than the other regime. And I think because of that reason is why they've been able to maintain talent. And we're going to continue to talk NXT Deadline. I know we kind of went off on a whole other thing, y'all, but I think that's why
it happens.
Yeah, of course. I think that's why Seth Rollins feels the way he feels, because he's put his flag down with the WWE. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has straight up put his flag down. And, once again, it's a whole other conversation to be had, but we got to move on. We got to talk some NXT Deadline. We talked about a great moment there with HBK and CM Punk. Now, let's talk about some great matches. And we had the women's Iron Survivor Challenge match, and this was, for me personally, my first time seeing this match. Some great talent that was involved. Names like Blair Davenport, Lash Legend, who that was my first time actually seeing her really wrestle like that. Tiffany Stratton was involved in this match, and this was all to earn an NXT Women's Championship opportunity at New Year's Evil. And I gotta tell you, man, I like the concept of this match. I know you was checking it out, P. You was checking out NXT Deadline, and we talked a little bit about the concept of the Iron Survivor match and how it was new to me, and you were kind of telling me what it was kind of mixed with as far as the concept of the match and everything. What did you think of this match, the women's Iron Survivor Challenge match?
I think the women's was the match of the night.
I enjoyed it. That was great.
Yeah, I though there were many great matches and many matches I enjoyed, I think the women's was match of the night, especially when you consider what was done in the matches. I mean, first of all, that cartwheel Alabama slammer from Tiffany Stratton was some nasty work.
She's special.
Yeah, Oh man. Also, I'm sorry, Kalani Jordan, but
Yes.
we ain't doing overdrives. We're not doing overdrives in 2023. We left that in the mid 2000s, and you out here doing overdrives. That's the shit I don't like. Be ashamed of yourself. But no, Tiffany Stratton and Lash Legends were both being the MVPs of this match.
Yeah.
Lash getting to showcase her power
Yes.
and coming off as a freak of nature on more than one occasion. And I love seeing how much she has grown.
Oh my
because
gosh.
I remember when she started. I remember when she was doing. I think it was Next Up is what they call her, Next Level Up or whatever.
Yeah.
And then now seeing her, I'm like, man, I can't wait for her to get a little bit more salt-based season and watch her versus Bianca. That'd be just bananas. Because you had the power bomb spot, the double suplex spot, you had the choke slam spot, the choke slam into a power bomb spot, and then she stacked them for a pin.
Yes,
and they literally said,
that, yeah.
And they're like, she's been in the match for 70 seconds and already has 2 pinfalls. I'm like, that's some nasty work.
Yes.
The double sleeper spot when they were trying to break up the submissions, Metaphor stopping people from exiting was a nice touch because once again, you're allowing heels to be heels in a multi-person match. Kalani is showing me that she has what I call the Wesley effect. Yeah. She's that person that at first you're like, are they going to grab me like I thought they're going to grab me? I like them in tag stuff, but I like them in singles. And then you see her in singles and the disregard she has for her body just for an opportunity. And it's like, okay, I'm buying in. I can see the baby face she could potentially end up becoming. Fallon going through the table and Tiff jumping off the pod was dope. Lash using Jordan as a weapon was funny to me. Kalani hitting the RVD wheelbarrow kick was cool. The submission train where everybody had each other and another submission. I'm going to be honest with you. It felt Davenport winning just because I have been watching. It kind of felt a little obvious, and it felt like there are ways you can do obvious wins and not make it feel like cheap. Yeah. And it kind of felt like the ending felt a little bit flat to me, but I like the fact that they made it seem like she stole the win. Yeah. And had Last Legend not been in the pod and she not ran, it might have been a different scenario. I did feel like Fallon Henley kind of did get lost in the shuffle of that match.
Oh yeah,
it felt like everybody was firing off on all cylinders, and it kind of felt like she got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. As far as watching that match, because there's not a lot of highlights I could think of with her. It seemed like she was just kind of there. I thoroughly enjoyed seeing Lash Legend and her have those moments where she came off. Even my wife was watching it and she was like, "Who is she?" I was like, "That's Lash Legend." She's like, "I like her," and I'm like, if you can get like that type of impression from somebody that doesn't like generally like watch wrestling or consume wrestling as much as we do, that's a good thing. I really feel like that's a good thing. And she just came up, jumped off the screen, did a good job of doing that, and I feel like that she has a really good future. As far as the match stipulation itself, I like the concept of the 25 minutes and the usage of the pod, this being, like you said before the pod, like a scramble match in a way. I enjoyed it. One thing that I had noticed, I was like, man, I really feel like that if the clock was descending instead of ascending, it'd probably be a little bit easier for somebody who just jumped in on it in the middle of it to understand. So I'm like, why don't you just go backwards from 25 instead of go up toward 25? But that's just being nitpicky. Honestly, I like the concept of the pod and having to stay in there for 90 seconds after a pinfall. It's just an interesting rule, and I also like the manipulation of the rules that Blair Davenport did in that finish. Like, I know you said that you felt like it felt kind of flat, but for me, being the heel in the match, it was smart for her to run and smart for her to protect her lead and wait for the time to go out, finish up. And I just like that finish for that reason. I thoroughly enjoyed the match. I love the match. I love the match concept. Blair Davenport's going to move on to New Year's Evil now. And it really set a good precedent.
Another thing I think could be cool for that match is if when we watch War Games, right?
Yeah.
They kind of have pods too, but their pods are all the way at the stage ramp.
Yeah.
picture the timing situation of someone finally gets let out the pod. They run all the way from the pod, run in the ring. Let's say they have it like Braun Breaker runs all the way from the pod, runs in the ring, hits the spear, 1, 2, and the timer runs out.
Man.
Like, picture a spot like that. So I would love the stakes of you don't want to get put in the pod because now this year the pod has now moved.
Yeah.
And that's extra time preventing you. Like, I just think that would be a nice little added.
I like that. That's good. Just because, like I said, it goes and for me, if you can have a match stipulation and fully utilize and fully utilize that match stipulation to your advantage, because like this is what we came to see. Like, we came to see this specific match stipulation. So I feel like in some kind of way, if it's something like that where time is involved, especially like a time limit jar or something like that, or something of that nature where time comes into play, making it suspenseful is really what caps off and makes it a great finish. We're going to talk about that a little bit in the men's Iron Survivor match. We're definitely going to get to that as we're talking about a great show here. Deadline NXT last PLE of the year for them, and it was a great, once again, a great show. But we also had one of my favorites have a match. One of my favorites on NXT being Carmelo Hayes. Melo don't miss. He went up against Lexis King, somebody who's very familiar with this local area here in professional wrestling. He's now on NXT as Lexis King. We know him as Brian Pillman Jr., but Lexis King have a match. My man with the very crispy lineup and the very fine-tuned eyebrows there. I was like, did my man sit up here and really like fine-tune his eyebrows? And I believe that he did. And he went in there against Carmelo Hayes, and this match kind of in the middle of the card. Carmelo Hayes has always been somebody who's been pretty relevant as far as what they're doing. He's been a champion many different times. Right now what he's doing is more story-driven with the attack on Trick Williams and trying to figure out who did it. Did he do it? Who did it? And now we're seeing somebody who was precise and motivated and focused on winning and winning championships. We're now seeing a different narrative on Carmelo Hayes, where he's kind of wrestling out of anger and revenge and spite, and we're seeing a different Carmelo Hayes. P, what did you think about that match there, Carmelo Hayes, Lexis King?
Well, one, you brought up a really good point about Melo being, even Booker T brought it up. There's so much emotion going on. He's not really on his A game. He's not really focused. Was this Melo's best match? No. Did Melo seem clean and like he was, a ring general? Yes. This was probably Lexis King's best match, though, I've ever seen him do. I've been in a tag match with him. I've seen him wrestle live. I've seen him wrestle AEW, MLW, and now NXT WWE. Mm-hmm. And this was probably the best match I have seen him ever have. And I can't just say that it was because of Melo, because I'm watching how he's doing the moves, hitting the moves, some of his in-between stuff. I enjoyed it. I also enjoyed the little snippet in the end where he pretty much was like, by the way, I didn't do it, but thanks for the PLE rub. And I was like, because one, it's funny because this whole, I don't want to be like my dad, but yet he keeps doing stuff like, his dad would do.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. It's like, all right. But yeah, I think that's also an interesting way to add more to the story. Also, if y'all saw how the pay-per-view ended, I feel like that's going to also play to the story that's going on coming forward.
Yeah. I once again, a lot of special stuff going on in NXT. I even told my son, who he's been watching a lot of wrestling, consuming a lot of wrestling media lately, and not because I'm pushing it on him. I'm not pushing it on him. He's doing it. He's seeking it out. He's enjoying it. The way that kids consume wrestling these days is very different than how we consumed it when we were kids. And he watches a lot of stuff on TikTok. He watches a lot of stuff. He consumes a lot because he can't. I don't let him stay up late to stay up late enough to watch Raw or SmackDown. Well, yeah, Friday night if he wants to is fine, but like, you know how it is. I remember coming up, Monday Night Raw was on a school night, and you're like, Dad, can I stay up till at least 10? And sometimes he'd say yes, and sometimes he'd say no. But, you know, with it going to 11, like, he got school the next day. So the next day he'll be up there eating his breakfast, watching the YouTube replays and shit like that. And yeah, I asked him, I was like, man, is it time for me to start paying attention to NXT again? And he was like, Dad, yeah, you need to. I don't know why you stopped. You know, like, so that's cool in itself, and to see the growth of these talents. And I talked about the utilization of the rules and manipulating the rules to coincide with the story that you're telling within the confines of the match with the Iron Survivor Challenge. And we kind of saw that too differently than the way we saw Blair Davenport win. And that was in the men's Iron Survivor Challenge match. And to me, it was another great match, and a lot of feelings I have on that match as Trick Williams went up against Dijak, Braun Breaker, Tyler Bate, and Josh Briggs. And this was an interesting match. I definitely want to highlight that ending and how I felt emotionally about it before I will get to that. P, what did you think about the men's Iron Survivor Challenge match?
I was pissed until the ending. I was like, they are hoeing my boy. Why are y'all hoeing him? The crowd is so behind him, and y'all are hoeing him. And then the end happened. I said, okay, I get it now. Yeah. MVPs were Braun and Trick, but I would say Trick only became an MVP in the end.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that rally was crazy, but Braun was the all-around MVP. Dijak somewhat. I felt like Trick winning was going to be too obvious. So I thought Tyler Bate was actually going to win.
Yeah.
So when that rally happened, I was like, oh, well, but the thing is, kind of how I was saying before with Blair Davenport, I feel like when something is obvious, when you do it right, you're okay with it.
Yeah.
Like we knew Cody Rhodes was going to win the Royal Rumble when he won, but when it felt like he earned it, when it felt like we enjoyed watching the journey, it was a different situation. I thought it was funny with some of the manipulating the rules because first Dijak, you know, he pins Briggs, puts Briggs in there, and then while Briggs is in there, he then waits for Bate to come out, which we hadn't seen yet, where someone gets put in the penalty box as we were waiting for someone to come. I also thought it was funny that Dijak gets pinned, sent in the penalty box, runs out just to get pinned and sent right back into it. So I thought that was kind of funny. The crowd all night was literally showing all they wanted was Trick Williams.
Yeah.
All they wanted was Trick Williams. They showed he was and is a star. Braun Breaker saw Lash Legend 70 seconds and says, I see your 70 and I'll give you 40. I see your 2 pins in 70. I give you 3 and 40. I'm like, come on, son. But it was crazy. That Frankensteiner into the Tyler Driver was some nasty work.
Man.
Man. Braun Breaker decided to hit the Shane Mercer special, the moonsault and battery.
Yeah.
But granted, to be fair, before someone tries to be all like, Shane Mercer did it first. Technically, Scott Steiner did a standing version of it first. So I'm just saying, you know, he's probably thinking he's paying homage to his uncle. But it was some nasty work. That nasty spot that Briggs did to Bate, so he like gave him a pop-up into the ropes. Yeah. Like they were outside the ring. He popped up Bate into the ropes, and then as Bate was like ricocheting back, hit on with a nasty clothesline. It was some nasty work. But then there was the end, like you talked about.
Yes.
That rally that Trick went on where it was just boom, 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 and there was seconds left.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Such a good ending.
This year's Survivor match or survival match, whatever they call it, because I'm kind of like just wow. It was so much better than last year's. One, because I feel like they were given the time to kind of iron out what they wanted it to be and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I still say the women's was better when it comes to the wrestling, but I feel like the drama and the story was some nasty work in the men, especially because some of the spots they went through. Because once again, it was, I'm gonna jump to the top rope, then give you a Frankensteiner, and then catch you in the Tyler Driver. Like I said, some nasty work.
Man, I really enjoyed the match. Once again, that rally at the end by Trick Williams was just absolutely incredible to see him just come from behind. Like you said, it seemed like they was just, because I was looking at the time and I was like, my goodness, he doesn't have a single fall, not a single fall. And it didn't seem like he was getting to that point until he got to that point. And it was boom, 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 just like that. And then by the time that he got that last pinfall with only seconds to spare before it hit, the clock hit 25 minutes, he got it. Crowd goes up. Big, they go nuts. You feel that huge energy. You feel it on commentary with Booker T. You feel it from Trick. One thing I like about Trick is how just the energy that he has, emotional. He eats up the energy that the NXT crowd is giving him. And the moment just felt right. It felt good. And I even threw in our group chat, I was like, Trick Williams is a star. And I'm not saying that he wasn't before that moment, but to me, that moment was a star-making performance, and we are going to see him now have an opportunity to go for the NXT Championship. That's going to be big. That's going to be huge. We're going to see what it leads into. I have thoughts on that as far as what I think could happen, but I'm sure we'll talk about that on this show on a different episode because we got to move on. We have to keep pushing on to our next match, and that was the match between Roxanne Perez and Kiana James happening in a steel cage. This match just got kind of thrown at us randomly at the last minute. They put together a pretty solid match to me. Kiana James is somebody that I'm still getting familiar with. Roxanne Perez is somebody that I'm familiar with. We've also had the return of Izzy Dame come out. This is somebody that I'm once again not familiar with, and I just want to prefix this, guys, that this is not me disrespecting them or anything like that. This is me getting my eyes on them for the first time and trying to mold a opinion on them from the first time that I see them. So once again, I thought the match just kind of was what it was. They did all the normal stuff that you would see in a cage match. They got on the top of the cage there. I thought it was, it for me, once again, was what it was. Match was thrown in there. We had the finish there with James winning by pinfall. Once again, decent match, okay match, not anything that is really standing out. Really, the Prodigy's done good work in NXT, and it might be time to move on. But that's the only thing I could really take from that. You know, if it's time for her to move on to Raw or SmackDown in 2024, we could see it. You know how it goes down after WrestleMania. We could see some new faces. But I know that this match just, once again, for me, kind of was what it was. Not anything super special, but is there anything that you'd like to add to that, bro?
I mean, I kind of have to agree. If I wanted more from the match, I thought we were going to get more from the match, and it felt pretty standard. Standard's not bad.
You're right.
The issue is when something feels standard and you have standards, you can kind of end up getting let down if they don't meet that. I feel like they gave us nothing bad. It just kind of felt like they gave us nothing special.
Right.
And I think we weren't looking for good. We were looking for great.
Yes.
And I think it's also because we're like, okay, we're looking for something that is going to be great because we've had all these other cool moments throughout the night.
Yeah.
But I think, and I know we're going to get to it here soon, I think if we might have gotten a little bit more from the main event, we'd be having a different conversation about this match. I also think with this being a steel cage match, there are expectations put on steel cage matches.
Yeah.
Very true.
And when you put expectations on steel cage matches, you expect them to reach certain expectations. Now, mind you, there are many steel cage matches that don't reach those expectations. That does not mean we don't have them. It's like a tables match. Tables match, if you really think about it, is low-key a boring match. It's just we had people that made them very, very fun.
Yeah.
And because we had people that made them very, very fun, we have an expectation of tables matches supposed to be great. What's more fun is when you have a match that a table gets introduced in an actual tables match.
Yeah.
But that's just me personally. I also feel, taken away from this match, I like this arc that they're doing with Roxy. I like that they are giving her this edge. I like that they are giving her I'm not just a white meat baby face. As I kind of said on the Pissed Off P, she's becoming very like on site if she has a problem with you. So her being on site and having the mindset of I will fuck somebody up, I like that she has that mindset of I will fuck somebody up, I will lay hands, let's fight, let's do it. So I'm not mad. I just need to see more. I kind of want to see where this is going, but I definitely want to see more.
Yeah, same here, man. Like I said, it kind of was what it was. If it was me, I'd probably give that a solid C+. Solid C+. And that's not bad. That's not bad.
No, not at all.
This once again, I thought this was a good show, ending the year for NXT. A lot of great talent, a lot of moments made, and talked a little bit about that main event that we had, NXT Championship match between Dragunov and Baron Corbin, and we talked a little bit about this before the show, man. And you had some thoughts, P, as far as this main event. Why don't you go ahead and walk us into your thoughts on the main event between Dragunov and Corbin for the NXT Championship?
Honestly, first and foremost, I think there were people who genuinely wanted Corbin to win.
Yeah.
I think that crowd kind of was wanting Corbin to win. I know I was wanting Corbin to win. And it's nothing against Ilya. I like Ilya. But there are certain wrestlers that are more entertaining when they're chasing than when they have.
Right. Oh, yeah.
We love to see Sami Zayn chase for a big one. We love to see Kofi Kingston chase for a big one. We love to see Daniel Bryan, pre his heel run in his last run, chase for a big one. We love to see Rey Mysterio chase for a big one. And we also love to see them win it, but then once they win it, then we're like, okay, now what? And I feel like this is the second time Ilya has won a big one. And now I'm kind of being left wanting more, but I think it's because like he puts on such bangers and it's so hard fought and there's such a will he actually win when he goes into the chase. Whereas once he gets the title, I don't always necessarily believe he can lose pending the opponent he's facing. And it doesn't feel like it has the same stakes and the same drama. I also feel like the introduction of this version of Baron Corbin, this introduction was honestly something he needed to do from the very beginning. And so I'm like, I would love to see this Baron Corbin as champion. I would love to see what this Baron Corbin does. And that wasn't necessarily that he had to win. I think it would have kind of been nice to see what happens. It would have been nice to see Ilya chase again. Kind of like how they did with Braun back in the day. How Braun won the NXT title and then lost to Dolph and then won it back. I kind of would have liked that. I would have liked Ilya gets that title opportunity to defend it, loses it, and now he has to kind of go through his redemption arc. That's kind of where I was at with it personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But even with that being said, it was still a pretty solid match. The hug kind of felt weird to me. The hug before the finish. Yeah. I get it was a callback from the promo.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't a bad finish. I think personally, I would have ended the night with the Survivor match with Trick winning.
Yeah, that probably would be a better image as you end the show. We still saw Trick Williams come out and set his intentions, but for me, I know a lot of people like Dragunov, and I don't dislike Dragunov. It's just for me, with the talent that's on that NXT roster, underneath him, and I kind of said this, with the talent that's underneath him on this roster, it just feels underwhelming with him champion. I don't know if some of that is because what you're saying, P, reigns so true with him just being better in the chase, and maybe that's where the disconnect is for me and him, but there's other people that I like on there that I think would probably be a better champion. I'm not saying he's a bad champion. I'm just saying for me, there's not a full connection. I honestly thought it was Baron Corbin's time. Baron Corbin is somebody who has had a lot of different incarnations of himself with WWE, whether it be the constable or the homeless guy or the rich guy or the lone wolf or whatever. He's played so many different roles, and it doesn't matter what you feel about Baron Corbin. I know he's not a super indie. I know he's somebody who came from football, came through the WWE ranks, worked through NXT, and ended up being on, working himself into a spot in the main roster and always keeping himself in things that keeps him relevant, whether it be him being the rich guy, the homeless guy, or what have you. But he is somebody that I feel like that some fans see as like that corporate guy just because he's not a super indie guy. And they're like, let's not appreciate him as much as he should be appreciated. Like, no, let's appreciate Baron Corbin for the solid work that he's done throughout the years, whether you was paying attention to him or not. I mean, he's found ways to keep himself relevant. And I really just thought him being the NXT champion was just a good opportunity. This is a chance that we've seen Baron Corbin just be Baron Corbin and who Baron Corbin wants to be. I think Baron Corbin has done fantastic with some direction in his character. Like when the company says, hey, let's do this, he's like, okay, I'll take it and I'll run with it. That's somebody teachable. That's somebody coachable. That's somebody who's willing to grow, learn, and he's being rewarded by being able to go down to NXT. Going to NXT, people might see it as a demotion. I don't see it like that. He's going back down there and he's being himself, who he wants to be, and he's booked in the main event of a PLE as himself, whether he's winning or not. The championship is there on the line. I'd say he's in a pretty good spot right now. Let's appreciate Baron Corbin for all that he's doing. This show was a really good show. I know earlier, P, you kind of said to those WWE 2K players who enjoy my GM that maybe the show started a little bit stronger and fell flat in the end. The middle was a little bit juicier than the end, and I really felt like that came into play with this show. So altogether, P, how would you rank this show? I don't know how we want to do this. I don't know how we want to put this together. Is it gonna be a star system, or are we gonna melter this thing? We're gonna give it a grade. We're gonna go back to school, A+, B-, yada yada yada. What are we doing, man? How are we ranking this show? What do you got? And what's your ranking for NXT Deadline?
All right, so my ranking system, I do this thing, and I call it on a scale of developmental to Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Where do I rank this show? And so on a scale of developmental to Hall of Fame, I give it 2 Intercontinental title runs.
Okay.
So you're not going to be Hall of Fame yet, but you definitely have room to grow. And so pretty much what I'm saying is I give this show, if we're doing it, let's say out of 10, because I'm not giving no stars. I ain't no sir.
Right.
But if I'm giving the show a ranking, I will give this show a solid C+, B-. This is probably going to get like. It's going to get like an 82% from me. So an 8.2 out of 10 is what I give this show. It was a solid show. It was a good show. I enjoyed the show, but there were just the peaks and valleys of it didn't feel like they were in the right place. And I get wanting your champion to close out the show and be the main event.
Yeah.
I'm also very big on how you send your crowd home. You either need to send your crowd home hype or send your crowd home mad. And I felt like the crowd was kind of sent home like, okay.
Yeah.
Like honestly. Yeah. Trick coming out is what got the crowd hype again.
Yeah. I agree with that. Once again, I thought it was a pretty good show. I enjoyed it. I really feel like that it did slow down there on the back end. If we're doing a number system, I'd probably give this a solid 7.5 out of 10. You know what I'm saying? 7.5. I'll say that. I'd give it a C+. As far as a grade system. Good show. I really did enjoy it. Like, for me, it was definitely those Iron Survivor matches. I was very intrigued by the concept of the match, and once I realized what was going on, I was like, this is fun, this is different, this is cool. And for that, the show was something good for me, and I definitely want to follow NXT past this point and see what's going on this Tuesday and next Tuesday and yada yada yada. You guys out there who know me and not just on this podcast, know this month is a crazy month for me. Crazy month. So I was happy to try to get a little content in, to push a podcast out there to the people during this crazy time of year for me. But guys, it's not stopping here. I mean, we still got a lot of work to do.
The new year is coming, and it's coming fast, you guys. Before we know it, it will be January. Things are going to slow down for me personally, and we got a lot of great content moving for you guys out there in the household that love to listen to and follow this great podcast. We appreciate your patronage and all that you do. With the addition of P now on the show, Voice here, holding it down steady, keeping great content flowing throughout the network here. Hype out there doing great work. Shout out to him. He'll be back on a future episode. And we're definitely gonna have that fun and give y'all that work like we know to give y'all that work. But until then, we gotta call this one a really great episode. We talked a lot of great things. The return of CM Punk, voices highlights of AEW, whether it be Dynamite or Collision, and P and his thoughts on NXT Deadline as we broke it down. This was a really, really great episode, and we really appreciate y'all giving us a listen, popping us in your ears. We're dropping this on a Sunday evening. It'll be ready for you by the time your Monday commute comes, and you can pop us in your ears on Spotify, pop us in your ears on Apple, and just ride with us, rock with In Your House. But until then, we got to ride off into the sunset, and when I do that, I got to do my due diligence, and that's give my guys here an opportunity to plug anything that they want to plug. We're going to start off with Voice here. Voice, man, you've been doing some great work out there in the wrestling media realm. Where can the household find you?
Well, I appreciate that plug there. You can find me every Friday, Saturday. I do Friday night SmackDown watch along that I bring in anybody. If you're out there, household, and you want to be a part of this fun, hit me up. Let me know. We can work something out. We can do a watch along. I do SmackDown on Friday, Collision on Saturday. I'm also a part of a Tuesday night show that is done by the Lou on the Twitch. It's a GM mode. He took all the fans, made them characters. There is a voice character. He is chasing the hardcore title right now. So stop in on a Tuesday, 9 p.m. Check us out, what we're doing out there. And always catch me doing In Your House stuff. I'm always running around the house.
My man, we appreciate everything that you do here at In Your House and all the work that you're putting out there. P, the newest edition of In Your House. It was a great episode to have you on here as a regular for the first time. Where can the household find you, bro? What have you got moving here in the next in the next month or so, going into the new year?
Well, first and foremost, my next show, and as of right now, it's my last show of the year. I'm going to be in Wisconsin for Frontline Pro, taking on the Gully Ewok. First of all, homie is a bad boy. He's a bad boy when it comes to the music. He's a bad boy when it comes to the producing. And in that ring, I would honestly say he is Arn Anderson meets Taz. So we about to have ourselves a fight. We about to have ourselves a fight, and I'm looking forward to because anybody can get it. And then come January, maybe having my last Emerge match, depending on what happens and how stuff goes. I'm about to have my first official opportunity for the Emerge Heavyweight Championship. But if I lose, I got to say my goodbyes. And I know people have been seeing the taped up shoulders and injuries and things like that. All I'm going to say is anybody can get it, even me. And I'm finna leave my heart in that ring, and hopefully I can come back with it in a championship as well. Outside of that, I'm going to be all over the place because in January I'm debuting in Canada. As of right now, if things keep going the way they're supposed to go, I'll be debuting in Mexico come the spring. I'm going to be planning my wedding here soon because a lot of people don't realize Vitamin P got engaged over the summer, so there's going to be some wedding planning that's going to go on. As well as, you can catch me on my socials, the _Paragon on Instagram, as well as the Paragon 23 on the Twitter machine. Or I know it's X now, but no, I call it the Bird app. You can follow me on Facebook, and please, please, please give us some love on Facebook and YouTube for Pissed Off P. We have the first episode up. We got another one coming out. And y'all going to see, in the words of Chris Tucker, why I'm pissed off, man.
Yes, man. Yes. P here, part of the In Your House network. Some great things going, great things moving. Big championship opportunity in January going down at Emergence Day. I will be in attendance for that show. What role I will be playing, I do not know, but I will be thoroughly focused on this main event, this huge moment for my brother P. And for me, I feel like that by the end of the night, the result will be one where your hand will be raised and having one of the biggest moments of your career, hoisting that long chased Emerge championship that you've been chasing for many years, been loyal to the promotion. Now your time has come, and I feel like that you're not fumbling the bag on that one. Just like we collectively did not fumble the bag on this episode of In Your House. It was fun. I had a really good time doing this, doing it again. As far as what I've got going on, I am done for this year with shows, but I will be there at Emergence Day. Like I said, that's going down for Emerge Wrestling, Columbus, Indiana. That is January 6th, where my man, one of my first signings, becoming a manager, Paragon, has the biggest match of his very young career going up against Daniel Eads, and I will be there for that one, playing some role, whatever it is. I'm there, I'm locked in. You already know Hollywood is going to come to make a movie and whatever you need me to do. Past that, you already know Destination 6, they're going to get it cracking. Destination 6 stays cracking over there in Macomb, Illinois. They've got a show going down on the 20th of January. And of course, one of my main things, guys, is to get this podcast cracking again. Like a lot of people, and I'm not bragging when I say this. This isn't a brag. This is just facts. And a lot of people have hit me up like, hey, when's the podcast coming back to the airwaves? And I got to keep it real with them and tell them, like, listen, a lot of stuff going on, really busy. Like, I appreciate the fact that you are listening and the fact that you want more content, and I want to give it to you. I really do. This is a tough time of year for me. Long-time followers of the podcast know that around this time of year, I always kind of shut things down a little bit just because my schedule changes, but don't think that I've had hiatuses before, and I always come back. Don't think for a second that I forgot about the fact that February is 5 years of In Your House. 5 years of this podcast that has been listened to internationally across the country. Many, many great names have come on this podcast, and sometimes I have to remind myself of the prestige that I've put on this podcast, and that's when I remember that, y'all. That's when I'm like, you know what? It's time to get boots on the ground again. It's time to start sending emails again. It's time to start putting out creative content again. And that is my goal as far as what I want to give you guys moving into the new year and break In Your House into another level of podcasting and being in the next upper echelon of professional wrestling media. And as far as where you can find me at, of course, that's at Hollywood House. I got it cracking back on Facebook, and of course also on the Twitter machine and IG. That's the Hollywood House. And guys, if you want to find me, make sure that you spell the last name right, all right? It's HOWSE, and the W stands for work. So once again, we appreciate you guys coming on, having a really great conversation and listen with us. One last final thank you to my co-host here, the voice, Josh Joseph, and the world's most dangerous podcaster, that is Paragon. Guys, until next time, I need y'all to hop on this bandwagon. Get on or get gone, because the household is still going mighty strong. You guys have a great day and a great beginning and continuation to y'all's week. Peace.